Only 3 goaltenders in the IHL have played more games this season than Rich Perrott. This will be his 26th of the season, second overall in the I with a 2.27 goals against average. And at the other end, it's Mike Torchia, who has pretty much split time this season with Tim Cheveldae for the Fort Wayne Komets. Torchia 4-7-2 with a 3.58 goals against average. Steve Ludzik knows it's a home game, knows his club is far ahead of Fort Wayne in the point race, but thinks he's got a tough road to get 2 out of here tonight ahead of him. While John Torchetti is 3-1-1 since taking over back on December the 6th for Fort Wayne in place of Dave Farish. He began the season in San Antonio as the assistant coach under Jeff Brubaker. Denny LaRue is the referee. Dave Cassidy and Russ Johnson are the linesmen, and we're underway as Detroit wins the draw at center. Vipers in their home whites with the red numerals and the aqua trim and their eggplant pants. Dirk moves it ahead at center, and it's dumped in by Ivan Korovo into the Fort Wayne zone. Sean Evans sends it up the far side. Broughton got it to the line, but not out as Dirk kept it in, and now it's flipped past him and out to center ice. Komets in their road blacks with orange and white trim and white numerals. Todd Simon at center for Detroit looking for Korovo. That knocked away by Dupuis. And into the Detroit zone, Shaw wheeling back with it. Headmans it for Korovo, who drops it for his centerman Simon. Into the Fort Wayne zone, drop pass to Korovo. Left side, tried to feed it back to the slot, but he was taken out of the play by Liam Garvey, who just held him up. Back come the Komets off the skate of Murphy. It caroms back, and Duncanson rims it around the boards in behind the Detroit net. The K's go for a change. Peter McLaughlin, the Viper rookie defenseman, out of his own zone with Bobby J, the veteran. And to center, Bobby J just steers it into the Fort Wayne zone. This will be touched up by Garvey. And the first whistle of the hockey game, an icing call against Detroit. A minute 3 into it. We talked so much about how the Vipers have a tall order tonight, and Steve Ludzik knows it to try to get a win. Here is why. Key Vipers out of the lineup because of injuries. Ian Herber's a stalwart on the blue line. The captain, Drulia. Dan Kessel, one of 5 players on the team with 11 goals. And Phil Crow, the plus-minus leader on the hockey club before his elbow injury. And that does not include Sergei Samsonov, the rookie sensation who left yesterday to join the Russian World Junior Championship team, which will take place in the World Junior Tournament beginning December 26th in Geneva.
And Ludzik just trying to come up with the right ingredients. He had players arrive today that weren't even available to skate this morning.
Garvey off the draw, flips it to the far wall. One of those players who was at the morning skate, back with the Vipers after beginning the season there, Steve Walker, and he's got the puck right now at center. Ahead with Ed Ward across the line. Ward will go wide on the right side and dump it all the way across. Walker gets it in the corner, flips it back in down low. Garvey sealed off Ed Ward over to the corner. Savaglia trying to turn away from the check there as he's pinned to the wall by Robin Bawa. Bobby J keeps it in at the point behind the net now for Savaglia. Bawa with the quick pressure on him. Over to squirt free and work it right in front with Ward, but Walker unable to pull the trigger. To the line, McLaughlin will get to the right point and keep it in. Ahead for Savaglia, back to Bobby J. First shot of the game on net, sticked away. And a penalty coming up to Fort Wayne. As Mike Torchia made the first save of the hockey game, but now he'll be forced to look at the first power play of the hockey game. A high sticking penalty that goes against Lee Davidson.
Good forechecking pressure by the Vipers. What we talked about in the opening, big defensive team, rather slow. Caused a lot of problems on the forecheck, cycling the puck down low.
Davidson, the club's leading scorer coming into tonight with only 15 penalty minutes and 29 points, picks up numbers 16 and 17. And the Fort Wayne penalty kill, which has struggled particularly on the road, has to come out just a minute 52 into it.
That's one thing under Torchetti that's really picked up has been the penalty kill, but that's been at home. They've killed up 24 of the last 25 efforts. Have not been very effective on the road, as we've talked about.
Viper power play ranking in the top 3rd in the IHL. Sets up as Simon off the draw, gets it to the line. Long wrist shot from Donnelly, scores! The traffic in front, and I don't think Torchia ever saw it, creates that one. It took the Vipers 8 seconds on the power play.
We know Mike Donnelly can fire the puck. That one was just had eyes. He just put it on the net. As you said, traffic in front. But good penalty killing usually starts with good goaltending. You want your goaltender to get a piece of that kind of a shot from the blue line.
Donnelly was credited with a goal Friday night at Kansas City that he admitted he did not score. Will get this one, and he does score this one.
Good call by you, John. Good screen set in front. Got the defenseman moving over. Torquia chose to look to the right of the screen. The shot came to the left of it. He was beaten.
His second as a Viper comes from Savaglia and Simon, and those two have been on a tear recently for Detroit. 1-0 Vipers. Oleg Mikulchik trying to clear out of his own zone and gets a favorable bounce and does. Wristed all the way back in by Stefan Brochu. One of the 3 fresh faces in the Detroit lineup tonight. Appearing in his first game as a Viper, just up from Flint of the Colonial League. At center, Brian Farrell brings it into the Detroit zone, but kicked it offside as Andy Bizzo was unable to regroup and get back into the zone. Donnelly has admitted to me that he thought he put too much pressure on himself early on when he came here. He said he knows Rick Dudley and Steve Ludzik brought him here to score goals. Until tonight, he only had 1 as a Viper, and this is his 9th game in the Eggplant and Aqua.
We've seen him come to life. His first 4 games, he was a little bit tentative. He may have, as you said, put too much pressure on himself. He had a dominating performance. Now he seems to be getting more in the rhythm, settling into the mix.
Thanks for joining us tonight on the Viper Hockey Network. This is the television side, the radio side all season long, 11:30 a.m. WDFN. And greetings to those joining us on the television side on TSN in Canada. Icing call coming up on the Komets as Brad Shaw touches up for Detroit. Shaw has made his mark since having immigration problems early on and then a knee injury. He has missed 15 games this season, but is +10 in the 16 he has played. And Darren, quick math tells me that's +50 if he gets into 80 games over the course of the season.
Well, I know that you spent all afternoon figuring that out, so it wasn't that quick, but it was accurate. And Bradshaw means that much both defensively and, as a graphic illustrated, gets it done offensively as well.
And I know you like to talk about plus-minus numbers as, well, they may sound impressive, but how do they compare on your team? Coming into tonight, the Viper plus-minus leader, departed rookie Sergei Samsonov at +13. He had appeared in all 31 games coming into tonight. In half those games, Shaw right on his tail. Play in the Detroit zone. Broughton digging along the back wall, frees it up for Duncanson. Craig Duncanson trying to find somebody in front. Everybody's behind the goal line. Did get it to Broughton, and he scored. And that's why Paul Broughton leads his team in goals and has been as consistent as he has. First shot of the hockey game for Fort Wayne finds the twine.
Give Craig Duncanson a lot of credit. Brad Shaw caught in between a 2-on-1 down low. Broughton coming off the half wall had all kinds of time. There was a miscommunication with the forward.
Patrice Tardif was also caught below the goal line. The Vipers had 2 defenders below the goal line. That usually spells trouble. Fort Wayne had 3 attackers below the goal line, and I think that's what began the confusion for Detroit in their defensive zone.
A reverse 3-on-2, if you will, starting from behind the goal line.
Creates the opening, and it creates the 11th of the year for Broughton. The Komets have been known to be in some high-flying affairs. Earlier this season, they were in a game in which 15 goals were scored in all. That is the high in the IHL this season, and we have early offense tonight here at the Palace. A delayed offside call brings a scuffle in front of the Detroit bench. In the middle of it, Kevin McDonald, one of the perennial penalty minute leaders in the IHL. Robin Baugh was there as well. We're even early on at the Palace.
I thought you might be hungry. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Dave. Happy holidays to you, too.
If you're working hard this holiday, you deserve a big, hearty meal, like Wendy's Smoky Bacon Cheeseburger Combo.
Thanks, Dave.
3 strips of hickory smoked bacon, processed smoked cheddar on a 1/4 pound of fresh ground beef with sauteed onions, made when you order it. Plus biggie fries and a drink. Come in for a Wendy's Smoky Bacon Cheeseburger Combo today.
Happy holidays, Dave.
What a nice way to say happy holidays.
You know what to do. Wild party last night, huh? So what happened to you? Last I heard, you were headed for some body-piercing place. Man, that stuff's too weird for me. Anyway, I'm sure you didn't do anything too stupid. Hey, you're the man, cool guy. See you at the beach.
But no stranger to fisticuffs. McDonald always making his presence known physically. But you have to wonder, to what end does that serve for Fort Wayne? They have 3 guys in the top 5 in penalty minutes in the IHL, Bezo, Gannon, and McDonald. But as we talked about, they're not very good on the penalty kill, and these guys alone don't add very much to the offensive mix. So John Torchetti has to wonder, do I temper that, or do I go along with that physical nature and that physical style?
Well, Fort Wayne's only been called upon to kill penalties for 8 seconds tonight.
Not the way he would like that to be evened up.
Problem was, it was evened up on the Detroit goal. Tied at 1, we're 4 minutes into it at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and glad to have you with us on this Tuesday evening. Robin Bawa up the left side into the Detroit zone, watched by Bobby J, takes it in behind the net. Centers, nobody there, picked off by Savaglia, who leads the rush the other way with Ed Ward. Ward rims it around the boards. This will go far side. Savaglia after it, just keeps it deep for Ward in the corner. Bumped there by Liam Garvey, who takes it away. And circling back behind his net and now finding pressure is McDonald. Davidson was back there as well, but he pitches it away. Garvey moves it ahead. At center across the Detroit line. Comes near side. Long drive went just wide of the mark from John LeBlanc and clears the zone all the way to center. Sean Gagnon flips it back into the Detroit zone up right wing. After it, firing it in front. At that time was Ambrosiak, and that one just bounced over the stick of its intended receiver. Gagnon again will rev it up and bring it up the right side. Stood up in the neutral zone as he was hit by another Viper newcomer. That's Andrei Bashkirov, and he'll bring it back into the zone. Bashkirov walks in. Shot saved by Torquia, and the carry him all the way to center. Here's Bezo in a hurry. Picked up and poked off his stick by Jeff Parrott, who came back. And up and down they go. Bashkirov dumps it back into the Fort Wayne zone and heads for a change to the Detroit bench. He, one of the new faces who joins the Vipers from Huntington of the East Coast Hockey League, and he had a good chance right there. Bouncing puck eludes Evans all the way into the right corner of the Fort Wayne zone, and Banks is on it there. Darren Banks leaves it down low, fired back in front by Corrival, but that hit a leg. Duncanson feeds it up the boards, but loses it. Banks fires it across, and Torquia broke that up as he got his stick on it. Corrival, as usual, hard to the boards with Broughton. Puck played away to center, and the Komets will get a change as Evans dumps it in. Long outlet at center for Banks from Shaw. He's able to chop it into the Fort Wayne zone. That'll enable the Vipers to get a change. LeBlanc loses it off his stick. And Bobby J able to lead the rush the other way. Simon didn't see the little feather pass from Ward. Otherwise, he could have gotten to the opening and gotten to that. Instead, the play at center. Gloved and flipped down by Robin Bawa, who carries into the Detroit zone, only to have it swept away by Savaglia. Loose puck in the Fort Wayne zone, fired up the high glass, the length of the ice from Sean Gagnon. And Bobby J back to touch up. It's an icing call.
And congratulations to...
Well, whether it's Bashkirov or Steve Walker or whomever it is, the Vipers having to get new nameplates and new numerals out for their jerseys tonight. There have been numerous roster moves for this club of late, most of them coming here this week in lieu of all the injuries. See Samsonov gone, not really a roster move. He won't be back until early January, but Walker, Brochu, and Bashkirov all activated today, and Phil Von Stefanelli expected to be active for Friday's game here at the Palace as the Vipers will play host to Kansas City.
Bashkirov had a good opportunity on a 2-on-1, took it to the goal, was thwarted by Torquia.
Took it to the goal and took the shot. Vipers have had 4 of those so far. Fort Wayne has had 2. We're tied at 1. Puck along the boards far side. Michel Mongeau digs it free for Patrice Tardif. Trying to work hard and get it back was Donnelly, but he couldn't fight through the bodies. Now it's Oleg Mikulchik who flips it back through center ice. That is a mouthful. And offside are the Komets, as if Bashkirov is not enough. A penalty coming up to Detroit as Bezo was tripped over the line and into the Detroit zone. So the Komets with the extra man, tied at 1 when we return.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching, while Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It does the work of an antihistamine, decongestant, pain reliever, and cough medicine. So unlike Bob, Fred gets more complete relief, so he gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for someone special?
It's Wendy's Smoky Bacon Cheeseburger Combo, a quarter-pound of fresh ground beef, processed smoked cheddar, bacon, and sautéed onions.
You know, nothing says happy holidays like a big cheeseburger.
Slalom, Super G, downhill, giant slalom. TSN's got it all. The world's best are set to fly Saturday. See men's downhill action from Italy here on TSN. Before the puck is dropped. Saturday nights are spent here. SO NHL Saturday night. This weekend, TSN.
Viper penalty going against Michel Mongeau, and a break for Detroit. As the holding penalty begins, an icing call on Fort Wayne. Robert Dirk touches up. Mongeau was questionable for tonight's game. He had been rather sick at this morning's skate, thought he might have had a touch of food poisoning, and told me before today's game as he showed up that he felt a lot better. And obviously in the fix that Steve Ludzik is in, I'm sure he said to Monge before the game, if you can go, I need you. And the veteran responding by donning the gear and being in the lineup. Viper penalty kill has moved up a great deal of late in the league, and it has also produced 2 shorthanded goals in their last 3 games, both off the stick of Todd Simon.
In that last 10 games, almost at 90%, allowing them to move up in the rankings overall.
Brad Shaw deflecting the pass through center into the crowd. Todd Simon, interestingly enough, wearing the captain's C tonight in place of Stan Drulia, as opposed to maybe moving an A off of jersey, putting a C on it, and then putting an A on another jersey. I think this was the prudent sewing move, if nothing else, for equipment manager Rich Matthews. And Simon, a veritable youngster on this Viper Hockey Club, getting the captaincy, at least for a game.
A stitch in time, is that what you're going to say on that, Corey?
A 5-year veteran, but I tell you what, he sits near the front of the bus and in the front of the plane, because he's got a lot of tenure ahead of him. Puck driven around the boards into the Detroit zone. Fort Wayne's first power play of the night. Shaw, as it comes back around, got a piece of it, and Dirk able to clear. Speaking of veterans, Robert Dirk, along with Shaw, the defensive pairing for the Detroit penalty kill. It's Savaglia and Walker right now up front, and they're giving Fort Wayne problems. Sean Evans able to headman it at center for John LeBlanc. He finally dumps it in. Off the back wall, handled by Perrant to the corner. Dirk rims it around, and that's kicked back into the zone at the line. Loose high in the zone, and Walker will just play it off the boards back to the Fort Wayne zone, and Evans tripping over an ice gopher will go to the bench for a change.
He did. He lost a wheel there. Having all kinds of trouble with nobody around him.
40 seconds to go in the power play for the Komets. McCoolchick brings it to the Detroit line, deflected in off the stick of Garvey. Sent back to the corner. Bobby J takes his time and sends it the length of the ice. The former Comet, Bobby J, remember their last Turner Cup championship team. The 92-93 version of the Komets. Back to center, one last rush for the Comet power play. Murphy cutting in off right wing, and it knocked off his stick, driven around the boards. This will come out as Detroit's Jeff Parrott clears, and that'll pretty much do it for the penalty to Mongeau. Garvey hustling back to get it, but the final seconds wind down. He steps out of the box, and both teams are full strength. McCoolchick with a long drive in off the blocker of Perrant. Around the boards near side as Fort Wayne finishes a change. Shaw gets it across the line to Mongeau. Jumps to the hole, backhander, score! Boy, Torquia fought that one all the way until it was back in front of him off the back of the net. And I think from the look on your face, you're not sure how that one got by him.
Well, Mike Mongeau showing what a veteran will do, getting himself in the play as soon as possible, reading the play. Dave Keon couldn't have done it better. Backhand on the short side. Beautiful shot. It's the kind that you want your goaltender to make, but what a terrific shot. Short side up over the catching arm.
So the Vipers have the lead back at 2-1. And Shaw collects it and takes it behind the Detroit net off the faceoff. For Mongeau, his 12th of the year, he now regains the club lead in goals. He had it earlier this season, then went through a span of 8 games in which he scored only 1. Ward hustles to the right wing corner in after it. Gagnon plays it around and away as it's in the Fort Wayne zone. Harkins kicks at it, comes to the point, fired on net by Brochu and covered up by Torchia. It'll be Detroit Newspapers Family Night coming up this Friday at the Palace when the Vipers host Kansas City, and it's a great deal for just $45. You get 4 tickets, 4 soft drinks, 4 hot dogs, a corn, and your choice of 2 Viper t-shirts or hats. Call the Palace box office for more information. The number 810-377-0100. A one-time Fort Wayne Komet, Stephane Brochu, filling a gap on defense for the Vipers tonight. Just made the 40-mile drive down I-75 from the Colonial League to the IHL. Stepping right in. The Vipers have gone their last 2 games with only 5 dressed defensemen. One of those being rookie Peter McLaughlin. Here's a giveaway at the blue line. Cutting in hard, Robin Bawa stuffs it through. Rich Perrant, we're tied again.
Well, the forwards are doing a good job of getting a half step or a step on the defenseman, but the goaltenders are having a hard time finding the handle on the puck here. Neither able to get a real good clean touch.
Bawa will get the unassisted marker at 10-14, and he did all the work indeed.
Donnelly came back on the backcheck late, but Detroit uncharacteristically turned that puck over dangerously at their blue line. Led to the turnover. Bawa went in relatively unmolested until Donnelly got there too late.
So 2 Viper 1-goal leads evaporate quickly, and now Simon dumps it in offside. Tardif had thought he was going to dump it earlier, and he was a good 20 feet into the zone. Just past the halfway mark of the opening period. We only have a combined 10 shots on goal in the hockey game, but we got 4 goals already.
Well, Rich Perrant played so well this season. He's had a little more trouble at home, unfortunately, than he has on the road, and we'll speak to that in a little bit.
Perrant behind his net plays it away from the forecheck as Murphy is in, and he knocks it down in the corner. Bobby Jay's on his hip. Puck below the goal line, stuck on the back of the net. Murphy and Jay still battling. Murphy wins that, got it in front, but McLaughlin come back. Now retreats behind his net and rims it around the boards. Broughton able to knock it down. It was kept in, now breaking away at center. Cordovo just couldn't quite get the handle as Gagnon brings him all the way to the near wall. Tardif digs along the boards at it, and now they'll freeze it for a face-off. 8:57 to go in the first, tied at 2.
You can tell which house has the Vicks NyQuil and which doesn't. Bob and Fred both came home coughing, sneezing, stuffy, aching all over. Bob's house had a cold medicine which only relieves his stuffiness and aching, while Fred's home had Vicks NyQuil. It does the work of an antihistamine, decongestant, pain reliever, and cough medicine. So unlike Bob, Fred gets more complete relief. So he gets the rest he needs. That's the restful plus of Vicks NyQuil. It's the cold relief you want to come home to. Vicks NyQuil.
One name stands for the promise of perfect pastry every time. That name is Tenderflake. Trusted, experienced Tenderflake. Nothing makes it flakier.
Young Rich Perrant has been very good overall this season, but somewhat alarmingly to Coach Lutzig, much better on the road, which isn't the problem. It's why the differential at home. And you can see here tonight, just doesn't seem to be quite as comfortable, and especially in staking his team to an early lead. They've been able to fall behind and not hold these early leads, causing problems. Tough to win at home when you do that.
Yeah, the major difference is in the save percentage that you notice, more so than the goals against it, is sparkling either way. Banks and Bezo talking it over, rim of the circle. The 2 respective penalty minute leaders for their clubs. Bezo not leading Fort Wayne right now, but would were it not for an early season injury that has cost him about 15 games. Led the IHL last year, and he has drawn his second penalty of the game as Banks is going to go off here. And that is one thing. You got a man with 590 penalty minutes as Perrant touches up, who led the IHL a year ago in Andy Bezo. And you may think, well, he's a detriment. You talked about some of the penalty minute leaders on this team for Fort Wayne and whether it's smart to play the aggressive style they do. I think when you're talking about Andy Bezo, it is, because you and I saw it last year. He may have nearly 600 penalty minutes, but he draws a lot of penalties as well.
That number, you're hearing it correctly, almost 600 minutes in penalties last year for Andy Bezo. But Fort Wayne was 8-1 against Detroit last season, in large part due to the fact that Bezo seemed to be able to get under the skin of these Vipers. And this shift, it happened to be Darren Banks. Throws Detroit off their game. Bezo doesn't score a lot, but he is a factor and has been a real factor against Detroit.
So Steve Ludzik will watch his club go shorthanded for the second time tonight. The Vipers would like to thank Visual Designs for their support of tonight's game. The Visual Designs provided tonight's opening animation. For all your animation needs and graphics expertise, call them at 800-842-6604. 8:33 to go on the first, tied at 2. Penalty to Banks. Putting the Vipers down a man, and now Mongeau chased from the circle. Shaw, Dirk, and Tardif round out the Viper penalty kill. And Evans at the line had his shot deflected right on by Davidson. Still loose as he got another whack at it. Bawa goes to the front of the net. Guy Dupuis bumped hard on the far wall, able to keep it inside of the net. Shaw knocks it away, comes right back to him. He turns to the corner, uses the boards, but fails to clear as Dupuis stepped up. They jam at it along the far side. To the line, Davidson moves it across. The open man is Evans. Evans back to the middle. Davidson's drive, that went wide, near side and covered by Perrant as he sprawls back to smother the puck. Half a minute gone, and the penalty to Darren Banks. And the face-off will stay deep in the Detroit zone.
Thus far, the game to Fort Wayne's liking, a little bit ragged. Detroit seems a little thrown off by the early goals given up by Perrant. He just needs to steady himself and get in that rhythm as he did in Kansas City. 33 save performance matching his season high, and that's the difference on the road. He's been able to really protect leads, close games, whereas at home he seems to give up goals early. Detroit not able to get into their good forechecking rhythm because they're playing from behind.
Now the high-flying style has to favor Fort Wayne tonight, as well as when you consider the Viper D has been a little bit short-handed of late. As I mentioned, last 2 outings, both on the road, they went with 5 dress D, and down the stretch, really played only 4 as McLaughlin was spotted. Tonight they have 6, and one of them being McLaughlin, the other being Brochu, who's never played a game with this club. So fatigue could be a factor as Detroit plays their 3rd in 5 days with a pretty short-handed blue line core. Good puck movement from Fort Wayne as Dupuis gets it top of the near circle now for Evans. Spins it down low. LeBlanc comes over. Bawa jams it through. Davidson sent it back in front, and Jeff Parrott got there to knock it away. Bobby J sets it up the wall and out.
You make an excellent point, John, about the decimated defensive core of Detroit. Steve Ludzik was talking to you earlier before the game about this being a television game.